In this movie, Whiplash, we follow the relationship of Andrew, a freshman drummer at college, and his vindictive and perfectionist music instructor. And although this instructor doesn't teach Andrew, he still wants to join his band. In the first scene, we see him getting one of the many rejections from this instructor. But when he catches him practicing, the professor gives him a chance to play. That night, as Andrew goes to the movies with his dad Jim, he tells him about his encounter with the instructor. The next morning, Andrew sits at a drum set in the classroom beside his substitute Conley. He enviously watches a couple kissing and then one of his bandmates talking to a friend. You see, Andrew craves real connection and love. As their teacher comes in and has them start playing a piece, he and Conley stare at the door. What are they waiting for? They're waiting for that instructor that hates Andrew, Terrence, to come in and pick them up. Andrew later walks by Terrence's class and peeps in. He hides, thinking that Terrence saw him, and next scene he's practicing until he sweats and listening to his favorite drummer's records. Andrew is in his class with the other students practicing with their teacher. Suddenly, Terrence barges in and instructs everyone to play. After hearing Andrew play, he picks him to be in his class and tells him to be there at 6 a.m. Later, Andrew goes to the movies and asks out Nicole. She says yes to the date and they decide to meet next Monday. During his sleep later, he checks his time and it said 6:03, and so he rushes out to class. But when he gets there, it was empty, and he reads on the timesheet that the session actually starts at 9 and he waits. Wait, hold on. Did you subscribe to our channel? Come on guys, you're here, you're watching the video. Help us out by hitting the subscribe button, as it really helps out me and my team to make more videos for you guys. And now, let's get back to the recap. At 9, the rest of the band show up, and so does Terrence, whom some of the students welcome standing up. Terrence walks in and has them start a music called Whiplash. Andrew is the replacement to the drummer in the band. As they were playing, Terrence stops them as one of them was out of tune. He kicks one of them out, who wasn't really out of tune, just didn't know that he wasn't out of tune. On their break, Terrence gives Andrew a pep talk. He asks about Andrew's background, and Andrew tells him that there are no musicians in his family and that his mother left him when he was a baby. Terrence is supportive and kind, but the big smiles end there. Once back in session, the band starts playing and Andrew does good. But later, Terrence stops them as Andrew is not on tempo. He has him play notes over and over again as he's either lagging or rushing it. And to my surprise, he hurls a chair at him, slaps him, and insults him. And when Andrew starts crying, he embarrasses him by shaming him about his mother leaving him as a baby and tells him to practice some more. Andrew, although upset, turns his practicing area into his bedroom and starts practicing obsessively. His hands begin blistering, yet he continues to practice. On our next scene, we see Andrew with Nicole on their date. And even though they're a little bit shy at first, they end up talking about school and they bond. Next, we see Andrew at a competition. The band is all dressed up in suits and getting ready to go on stage for a competition. After Terrence tells them what to do and to not leave their binders everywhere, they go on stage. Andrew sits by the drummer and flips pages for him throughout their performance. Once they were done, they take a break and the drummer hands him his binder. Andrew puts it on a chair for a second, but when Carl asks for his binder, it wasn't there anymore. Carl lashes out at him, and when they tell Terrence what happened, he tells Carl to go on stage without it. But Carl doesn't know the tune by heart, and Andrew says he does and goes on stage to play Whiplash. And he plays it very well and they end up winning the competition. At their next studio session, Terrence makes him core drummer and Carl becomes his backup. Andrew is very happy, and at home later, he tells his dad it's going very well for him. On the very same day, at night, Andrew and his dad have some guests over, and Andrew seems to be the odd one out. They ask him about his drumming and he tells them he made core drummer and will be playing at competitions. But these people downplay his accomplishment, and they keep praising two other college students who are apparently on the students' council. Hearing this, Andrew gets really pissed and leaves. At the studio the next day after practice, Terrence asks Andrew to stay behind. Once the others were out, he tells him that he has another backup and invites Conley in. Andrew gets very upset, and Terrence intimidates Andrew by telling him that he will be the next core. He then tests them both on new music, Caravan, and he likes Conley's drumming better. As Terrence's phone rings, he walks outside to talk with Andrew following him and complaining that he can do it better. In the office, Terrence ends his call and shouts at him. saying that if he really wants it, he should earn it. We next see Andrew and Nicole at dinner. Andrew starts laying out this detailed analysis of their relationship. He tells her he needs to focus on his drumming more and he won't be able to see her anymore, hence they should break up. Nicole gets upset and tries to reason with him, but Andrew is closed off and cold because he's finally become the obsessed artist. Afterwards, we see Andrew preparing ice water in a jug and sits it by his drum set. He continues to forcibly drum until his hands get bloody. He dips his hands in ice water and we see how determined he's become to be perfect. That night at practice, the whole band is in the room waiting for Terrence. When Terrence arrives this time, he seems different from how he always was. He tells them all to set down their instruments and he tells them about a student he had, Sean, that played trumpets with a great drive. He starts crying and tells them that he just died in a car accident that morning. Andrew looks at him very oddly and starts to discover that this man that's so cold has feelings just like any other human being. Terrence then starts to have them practice Caravan, but as soon as they start, Terrence is very unhappy with the way they're drumming. He alternates between Andrew and Conley and Carl, but none of them seem to get it right. He starts shouting at them and tells the rest of the band to take a break because they're going to stay all night drumming if they have to. For the next few hours, he works them non-stop. It's very brutal. They keep alternating on the drum set and drumming until they get it right, while he calls them names and insults them. They're all sweating heavily and their hands start bleeding. When it's Andrew's turn, Terrence has him for longer, shouting faster as he beats the drums as if his life depended on it. Terrence even gets a medal to clank at his ears while he plays. Andrew strains all his muscles just to get it right. And on our next scene, we see Andrew heading to the competition that he has been preparing mercilessly for, studying the sheets and drumming with his imaginary sticks. As they were headed there, the bus suddenly stops and apparently there's a flat tire. Andrew tries to get a cab because he doesn't want to be late, but he still doesn't find a cab and he ends up going to a car dealership and renting a car. He starts calling his bandmates, shouting and cussing at them to tell Terrence he is going to be there. Once he gets there, Terrence tells him that he's not gonna put him on stage because he's already late. And to make matters worse, after they have a shouting competition, Andrew remembers that he forgot his drumsticks back at the dealership. And when Terrence points this out, Andrew lies, saying that it's in his car, and Terrence gives him 10 minutes to go and retrieve it. He drives back to the dealership and grabs them, but on his way back while speeding, a truck hits him. He's covered in blood, but he crawls out, and the man who hit him tries to check if he's okay, but not paying any attention to the man, Andrew grabs his sticks from the car and staggeringly makes his way to the competition. He gets there and the whole band is on stage with Conley on the drums. Andrew takes his place and nods to Terrence to show that he's ready. Although he's obviously in a lot of pain, Andrew plays vigorously, but he couldn't keep playing and he stops. Terrence tells him that he's done and Andrew gets really angry and lunges towards Terrence and tackles him. But before any serious damage, his bandmates pull him off and take him off stage. And the next time we see Andrew, he's in a restaurant with his dad and some lady. She asks him if he knows about Sean's death, and she then proceeds to tell him that Sean hanged himself and had suffered from anxiety and depression, which they believe was caused by Terrence. And the lady concludes by asking him to testify against Terrence in a closed hearing. And he's staring at a letter that he got from his school notifying him that he's been dismissed. He puts a CD into a computer player, and a young Andrew appears on screen, smiling while drumming and showing off to his dad. Andrew seems to be done with everything, and he gathers all of his stuff and his posters and he throws them out. He lets go of his drumming life completely and starts working at a restaurant. We also go back to the scene where the lady asked him to testify against Terrence, and we learn that he agreed to do that. One night, as Andrew walks with a pizza slice in his hand, he sees a sign outside a bar that says that Terrence will be playing. Andrew goes inside and hears him play, and when it was over and he was about to leave, Terrence notices him and says hello. Sitting at a booth, Terrence tells him that some student from Sean's year had testified against him and he was fired. He tells him that he was only trying to push his students beyond anyone's expectations. While walking out Andrew, Terrence asks if he wants to come play with him at a jazz festival since they're playing the playlist that they've learned in college, and Andrew replies that he will think about it. Anyways, the day of the performance, Andrew gets ready in his best clothes and heads there. Once there, he looks through an opening in the curtains at the crowd arriving, and he sees his dad coming as well. Before going on stage, Terrence tells them how important their audience is, as they can get them the best deals in town, but also ban them from the industry altogether if they suck. On stage, Terrence announces that they will be starting with a new piece that Andrew doesn't know. Hearing this, Andrew is crushed, and the moment they start to play, Andrew is way off beat and he storms off stage. But Andrew's not one to give up. He goes and hugs his dad, and he goes right back on stage and starts drumming without waiting for Terrence's cue. He cues the others in and they play perfectly. Terrence seems proud and content, but before he knew it, Andrew does a solo that's out of the world and Terrence cues the others in. And in the end, they both look up at each other and smile, realizing that they've both accomplished something great. And that is where the movie ends. I hope you guys enjoyed my recap. Make sure to leave a like, leave me a comment, and subscribe to my channel. I love you guys so much, and I promise to see you on my next recap. Bye!